What is a healing biotope? By Dieter Duhm, a chapter from the book Terra Nova, Global Revolution and the Healing of Love. To enable a future without war, we need convincing models. The models need to provide solutions for both the outer global crisis and the crisis of the inner human world. It is the inner human processes that determine the success or failure of our peace work. Human society needs to be newly anchored in the universal powers of life and creation, the sacred matrix, if it is to find the resolution that is needed. We need new models of living wherein truth, love, and solidarity becomes possible again. We need community in which the latent war between the genders has ended, in which free sexuality is based on truth and trust, and in which our fellow beings are respected as cooperation partners within a sacred alliance. We need intimate cooperation with nature and the universe because healing is the reconnection with the original power field of the divine world. This applies to the individual organism, to the organism of a community, and to the organism of all humankind. The first step of this global work consists of creating healing biotopes. The second step entails connecting the healing biotopes in a global network. The third step is global field building, which is no longer carried out by humanity, but by the laws inherent to the universal Holland. The Tamera Peace Research Center in Portugal has been working on the Global Healing Biotopes Plan for 2 decades. It is a cultural idea for an era free of war and violence. A healing biotope is a community in which all beings involved, human beings, animal, plants, and waters, live together in a way that serves mutual healing and development. It is crucial that there is trust among all those involved, for trust is the basis of healing. A new objective thus comes into play, one that has not yet been featured in ecological or economic questions, the strategic building of trust. This will require the overcoming of an historic barrier. Most beings carry a deep conditioning of mistrust as a result of the historic trauma. In order to generate trust, the barriers of fear, disguise, and deceit must be overcome. The students and participants in a healing biotope know that they step into an innovative experiment, particularly in the love school, where they are confronted with new opportunities for their physiological and sexual development. The research is about new forms of communication and cooperation among human beings, as well as between human beings and nature. Gradually, invisible beings are also integrated into the cooperation, for the world we are able to see is only the surface of the totality of all living beings. In every moment of your healing work, multitudes of invisible helpers stand by our side. Esoteric terms such as diva, guardian spirit, or angel connote a spiritual realm that could, little by little, be included in the conceptual planning of the new projects. Healing biotopes orient their work according to the truths of life. They are organized in such a way that life is able to carry out healing. We do this through new social, ecological, and technical structures, and through new forms of coexistence that align with the precepts of universal ethics. The greater the stability of these structures, the more intensively the healing process will act in all those involved. The Global Healing Biotopes project contains and manifests the principles and paradigms that, insofar as we know, will foster the humane habitation of all continents. Of course, healing biotopes will take shape according to the cultural, geographic, and climatic conditions of the countries they are in, but the core principles of creating a new culture will be the same everywhere. The project is not focused on one specific problem, such as famine, but on all problems, for they are all inseparably related. The Hunger Project, which aimed to free the world from famine in the 1990s, could not succeed because the global practices of economic and political exploitation continued and continue to perpetuate hunger. The ending of worldwide hunger evidently necessitates the removal of the economic structure that generated it. This implies that any real human renewal, it can only succeed on the basis of a new social, economic, and political order. There can be no humane world without revolution. However, it is not a revolution through violence that is needed, but a revolution through insight and the application of the power inherent to our Christ nature. Revolution through taking a determined, non-negotiable stand for life. The Healing Biotopes Project aims for the healing of humankind and the earth. In other words, it is about finding a new direction for human evolution and about a new matrix for inhabiting our planet. Within this vast frame, we have identified some focal points: the healing of erotic love, for example, raising children, developing centralized energy technologies, and the healing of water, because these are key to our existence. The way in which humankind deals with water, which energy sources we use, and how we solve issue number 1 will essentially determine whether there will be peace or war on Earth. The primordial cell for a new planetary culture. The concept of the healing biotope originated with the idea that there must be a structure, we call it the cultural crystal, that initiates a process of self-replication, but like a biological cell, once the structure is sufficiently developed and complex. This cultural crystal would be an universal structure applicable to all peoples and continents. In other words, the image of a healing biotope came from an intention to create a morphogenetic field for a new humane world. Evolution moves forward to creating morphogenetic fields. Today we live in a morphogenetic field of war. From economic and political decisions to the processes in love relationships, a morphogenetic field of war characterizes this society, despite all moral efforts of individuals. We need to transform it into a morphogenetic field of peace. The civilization of the future is evolving from a morphogenetic field of peace. Resonance instead of violence, cooperation instead of competition, forgiveness instead of revenge. These are some of the characteristics of the new morphogenetic field. For building the morphogenetic field, an image crystallized and slowly solidified, the image of a healing biotope. The healing biotope serves as the primordial cell of a new culture in the organism of humankind. In this primordial cell, the focus and parameters need to be set relatively accurately to enable the cell to properly spread through the growing organism of the new planetary community. The Global Healing Biotopes Plan relies on the establishment of a first of these primordial cells that, with the help of a global network, will give rise to other such cells. A morphogenetic condensation is to be achieved in the noosphere, the informational body of humankind, in which bit-by-bit variations on the original cell will crystallize. That which happened 4 billion years ago with the evolution of the first biological cell could happen in contemporary social evolution with multiplication of the primordial planetary cell through morphogenetic field building. This process, which is described so linearly here, is in reality a historic process involving many projects and groups. The primordial cell contains the fundamental information matrix, the DNA of the new civilization. It gathers the most diverse of life and thereby brings forth new connection points, new synergies, new energy lines, and new directions of meaning leading to new directions of growth. From the work of ants and spiders, bees and swallows, to the activities of children, of domestic animals, from water lilies in ponds and fruit trees in the permaculture gardens, from the actions of craftsmen, technicians, excavator drivers, scientists and priestesses, all the way to the working of natural spirits, there develops a growing system of ever-increasing coherence. The greater the coherence, the more powerful the system and its capacity for growth. It seems increasingly to develop by itself. The most astonishing phenomenon we perceived in the difficult times of our project was when no solution was obvious to us, and new faculties of creativity and self-organization arose within the community that helped us to find a way out. An essential condition for the development of the primordial cell is the coherence between its composite working areas. In Tamera, we coined the term Coherent Information System, CIS, as a reminder to attend this coherence. CIS was and is a central thought in the implementation of the new centers. In a healing biotop, all sub-projects need to be intellectually and spiritually compatible. This means that they need to share basic principles and goal orientation. The informational matrix for raising children, for example, should match the core information of the law of school, the political education, the nutrition, technology, ecology, etc. Where this is found, we have a highly robust, coherent information system. The stability of a system depends on its coherence with the sacred matrix and on the coherence within and between its subsystems, working areas, or sub-projects. The principle of the coherent information system brings with it a high moral responsibility. How much secret cheating can we tolerate if we seriously want to create a world of peace? How many industrial produced consumer goods can one still use, knowing the barbaric ways in which they were made and distributed? Can one still drink canned milk or eat chocolate produced by Nestle? These are serious questions in a coherent community. They concern the issue of complicity. When thinking about complicity, we should not restrict our attention to questions of consumption, for we are also complicit when we participate in the destructive ways of thinking and the subliminal emotions of conventional society. Questions of complicity must not be suppressed, and nor should they be allowed to escalate to moral fanatism or be used as excuses to tyrannize each other, for they are meant to serve peace and love. The cultivation of the primordial cell is a community undertaking. It develops out of the complex relationships within the community and the relationships which that group has established with global network. The Tamera community engages in continuous communication with individuals and groups all over the world in order to fine-tune the project so that it can reach morphogenetic maturity. To this end, the aspects of eros, religion, and economy need to be developed further.